Hey Joe, it's Calvin here. Just a couple quick things before we get started. I have to give you a couple apologies. First, for the length of the video. I do apologize that it is so long, but you gave me so much to dissect and mull over from the last call that I just had to fit it all in, and I couldn't do so in a reasonable amount of time. As you know, I am one to be quite verbose. My second apology is for the audio quality of this video. As you can see here, I'm trying to set up a lavalier mic that I have, and unfortunately I did not test it out before I recorded the official video, like a smart person would have done. And as a result, the microphone wound up not working, and as such, the audio quality suffered for it. So I do apologize for the sound that you are about to suffer through. But please rest assured that I will take steps to remedy this problem in the future, and bearing all that in mind, I would like you to please go ahead and continue to enjoy this wonderful video which I have put together for you. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Hello there, Joseph. How you doing? What do you know? All right. So, a little bit of a different setup today. I hope it doesn't throw you, but I'm out here for two reasons. One, because I wanted to enjoy the fruits of my labor this morning. I just mowed my lawn and wanted to be able to look at it and revel in my manly landscaping capabilities. The other reason is that there's a lot of stuff going on inside the house and I didn't want it to disrupt the video. And what better way to be proud of my work than to crack open a nice cold one and just sit back. Today I've got here the 8-Bit Pale Ale made by Tallgrass Brewing Company. I believe I've told you about this and I've written about it for the site as well. I'm not entirely certain about the laws in regard to drinking alcohol on YouTube. If anything, we might get an age gate. So I won't actually show myself drinking it, but I will go ahead and pour myself a glass here. So first things first, I wanted to address a couple of the issues and topics that you brought up in the last call. The first being Steam refunds, which is a new recent policy that Valve has rolled out. My initial thought about it is that it's probably a bad thing because now you've got a bunch of people who are probably going to take advantage of the system. And I know that Steam is going to try to curtail that sort of behavior, but really if there are people who want to work the system and get the most out of it, they're going to. You're not going to be able to stop pirates and cheats from doing that kind of thing. But I think in the long run it could be a good thing because it's going to help a lot towards improving customer relations and making it better for players, for legitimate players who want to actually give feedback and enjoy the products that the devs put out in the future. And it is still a sort of infant program, which we kind of have to see how it plays out and see what the future holds. But the other thing is that it kind of reflects Valve's cavalier attitude towards just rolling out new policies without even really consulting with anybody, I don't think. Remember when Greenlight first came out, there were a whole bunch of people that put up fake Half-Life 3 games before they instituted the policy where you had to pay $100. And let's not forget paid mods, which lasted for about a week, and then they took that down. And now you have this situation where I'm guessing, I've tried looking this up, but I couldn't find anything. You have the developers taking all of the hit for the refund, and Valve does not incur any of that loss, which I think is an important difference in the way that we normally think of refunds. Because if you buy a product at a store, at a retail store, let's say big box, mega corporate chain, I'm not going to name any particular names, but if you buy something there and you want to get a refund, the store is the one that takes the hit for that. By the time it gets to the store, the person who makes the thing has already been paid for it. So they don't really get a loss on the product. Now, of course, this varies from product to product, and I don't know all of the details. But the difference being with Valve and Steam doing this is that the devs are going to be taking a lot of hits for something like this, especially early on. Now, of course, that could change in the future. We'll see what happens as the program continues to roll. But, I don't know, it just seems kind of a stinky situation, and if I were a developer, I think I'd be a little mad that I at least wasn't consulted or polled about it beforehand. That's just my opinion. Moving on, yes, I know there were some names, some pretty big names that I left off of the list of developers who we've lost over the years. And I kind of did that on purpose because I didn't want to leave all of the easy ones just for myself. But yeah, you did bring up a pretty good list. And I'm going to take this opportunity to mention Clover again, because yes, let's please talk about Clover on every single episode. And I mean that sincerely. We really need to let people know about Clover's games. Speaking of which, I just recently purchased on a PSN sale over a couple weekends ago, Okami HD, which is such an incredible game. There really is no other game like it. I know there are easy comparisons to Zelda, but in terms of the style and the visuals, and I'm not really one to care about graphical fidelity, but style definitely, I think this game has in droves, and it is a top-notch game. Pretty much flawless. I can't think of anything wrong with it. So, Clover, rest in peace. I'll pour one out for you. Now, to answer your question about is it okay when Nintendo does it, I think that kind of depends on the thing that they're doing. You brought up the Amiibo and DLC, and of course it's okay when Nintendo does that. I have my own issues about DLC to begin with, but they're just trying to make money in this business just like everybody else. So of course it's okay when they do it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I do not think is okay for them to do is for them to continually release new upgrades to their hardware that fundamentally change the way certain games can be played. I have no problem with annual hardware upgrades. We do it all the time with phones and to a certain extent video game consoles that you plug into your TV. But with Nintendo, it's different, because do you remember when the first iteration of the 3DS was out and they created that extra Circle Pad Pro that you could use with Kid Icarus, and then they came out with the 3DS XL, which totally made that whole thing obsolete? It was around for less than a year, and if you went and got the new 3DS XL, it was basically useless to you after that. They kind of did the same thing with the new 3DS when they added that little nub to the side. Now, there are certain games that can be played on the new 3DS, but they cannot be played on previous generations of the 3DS. And we're not talking about a new generation of hardware here. We're talking about a 3DS. And that's the kind of thing that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Now, to your point about Amiibo, the thing that Nintendo's doing wrong with Amiibo, and yes, that is the plural version of the word, they're not creating enough of them. They're creating just very, very limited quantities of these little plastic figures that you stick on a portal, which they have every right to get into that market. You've got Skylanders, you've got Disney Infinity, and to give you a brief marketing lesson, there's such a thing as the first and second mover advantage, and then usually the third mover is the one who doesn't have quite as big a stake in the industry as the other two. But Nintendo's advantage in that regard is that it has a stable of beloved characters that everybody will gladly shell out money to pay for little figures of. The problem is that they're not making enough of them. And so, just like you mentioned, you have a black market now. You have all these so-called scalpers, people who are buying up these really rare amiibo and then selling them for thousands of dollars on the internet. And the reason that's not okay for Nintendo to do that is, first of all, Nintendo's not making any money from that. They're letting the scalpers reap all the rewards for that. The other reason is that they're just denying access to to real fans who want to buy these things. And they're saying, oh, well, basically, if you want to get them, then you have to either be really, really quick on the draw or be extremely rich to pay $5,000 for a Wii Fit trainer or whatever the case may be. And that's the thing that really, really, it's like they're sticking the knife and just twisting it right in. And I do not like that one bit at all. So in a way, they're sort of fulfilling the prophecy of the third mover. They're not giving themselves enough of a stake in the market to have any real effect or to show any profit from it. So, I don't know. I haven't really caught on to the Amiibo bandwagon, and I'm kind of glad for it. Now, to bring up a topic of my own, obviously E3 is coming up, and obviously we already recorded a podcast about it, but there are a couple other things that I wanted to bring up. Is E3 relevant anymore? Maybe I'm just jaded, but it seems to me that the whole thing about getting all of this press together and retail representatives and everybody for this one huge event in LA every year, and it's kind of lost a lot of its special charm. You know, I don't think about wishing to go to E3 the same way that I used to before all of this stuff was happening constantly on the internet with the live streams and the blogs and the tweets and everything. And also, you have a lot of people like Sony who are doing their own special event, and Nintendo who aren't doing press conferences anymore, and they're just holding their Nintendo Directs, which are kind of proving the point. It's like, why would anybody want to try to battle for attention at this gigantic event where there's this kind of sensory overload of information, when you can kind of have it on your own turf and you can really control the pacing of information and how it's doled out to everybody. And I think in the future that we're going to see a big sea change away from things like E3, where companies are going to be able to just kind of put out their own message on their own terms. And I know that they actually did try that one year with E3, where it was not really this huge media explosion like it was, and it was more like a summit. And I know that that was a very short-lived prospect, but I don't know, I just think things are changing, and the way that we do E3 now is becoming less and less relevant. So there you have it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.